Good evening and welcome to the 2019 Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame Awards Ceremony. I'd like to just say that I think this is a really great event. We honor our athletes in a couple different ways, but this I think is one of the nicest. And it's nice because not only do we get to honor the new inductees, but those who've come before them, and all of the tradition of excellence in athletics here at Lyon College. So I'm always interested when this event rolls around to see who comes back and see how the night rolls out, but it's always a great event. I'd like to give a few special thanks before we get started, specifically to Creative Dining, who prepared this food, which looks excellent, and to our maintenance and housekeeping staff for setting up and inevitably taking it down and cleaning it up. Our information services staff, obviously our athletics department, Cindy Barber, our director of alumni engagement, and our photographer is Chris, not Dawson, but we're glad he could make it. So we depend on all the people at the college to put these events together, but with these kind of big events, the people I just mentioned spend a lot of time putting this together. So we could just give them a little applause. Our invocation will be given by student athlete Liz Henderson. Liz, would you come forward?
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, God, thank you for this day, and thank you for allowing us to come together to celebrate these Hall of Famers and their great accomplishments. Thank you for the difference they've made to this community, this college, and most importantly, others' lives. Thank you for the positive impact that they will continue to make, and I pray that you'll bless them and use them as role models for all students. I want to thank those who prepared the food for us tonight, and I pray that you bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies and our bodies to further your kingdom. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
First off, before we get started, I'd just like to say congratulations to John, Marybeth, Aubrey, Stephen. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Congratulations. Proud of you. Looking forward to the night to see how you guys tell us about all the things that happened back in the day. Now, it's one looking forward to the fun things that we're going to hear and enjoy as we go through the evening. But a little bit before we get started, kind of give you some of the things that kind of a snapshot of what's going on with us here in athletics. With our teams is this year, our women's wrestling team is ranked 8th in the country currently. Our football team had the best record ever, sitting in the modern era. We were 7-3. Our men's and women's basketball team had 2 big wins today in the conference against Missouri Baptist. The women are 4-1, and men are 6-1. Our women's ranked 20th in the country right now. Our men's soccer team just got back from the opening round of the NAIA playoffs, and this is the second time we've ever been to the NAIA playoffs in the men's soccer. Our spring sports have been working hard, getting ready for the upcoming season, and I know we are looking forward to thank our baseball team. The poll just came out. We're ranked 21st in the preseason poll, so there's a lot of great things happening here in athletics, and we're really, really proud of what the student athletes are doing. I wish I could take all the credit, but I can't. The student athletes and coaches are doing all of it. And also they excel at what they do in the classroom is really, really good. So we appreciate what they're doing for us. And also at this time, I'd just like to say, Cindy, thank you again for putting this together. We appreciate it, Cindy Barber, for doing it. I'd also like to introduce Matt Chrisman, our Executive Vice President for Enrollment Services, Athletics, and Offending, and his wife Jill. Thank you all for coming. David Hutchison, our VP for Advancement, is here with us tonight. Also, Elliot Sampley, former softball coach, is in a new role with us, but Elliot is now our Executive Director of Athletic Advancement, so we're excited to have him with us here tonight. Also, Matt Jagosinski, where's Matt at tonight? Matt is our Associate AD for Athletic Media and Communication. He's on the camera back here. Matt, thank you for what you do for us. And at this time, I'd like to get our coaching staff that's here, please stand and be recognized. All our coaches. One of the things that makes my job easy, we've got a great great group of coaches, and it's really one that come to work every day. They work hard, and we got a good product we put out there on the field. At least, and not last, is our student athletes. We got a lot of our seniors that are here that will be playing their final seasons of competition. Some of them have already completed. But again, could you all please stand and be recognized? Our senior and student athletes. Again, we want to just welcome each of you here. Hope you have a great time and enjoy the evening. We are looking forward to a fun time of hearing all the things that have happened during your lives since you've left us, and then kind of some of the things of what's happened during your time here at Lyon College. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Joy King, our president.
Thank you, Kevin. I'd like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies, Representative Stu Smith. Most of you in this room know Stu, but I'll go ahead and list his many accomplishments now. He's a 1982 graduate of Arkansas College with a BA in Physical Education. He was inducted in the Athletic Hall of Fame in 2004 and is also a member of the Batesville Area Athletic Hall of Fame. He is serving his first term in the Arkansas House of Representatives representing District 63. Stu is a retired educator. He was awarded the 2017 Batesville Community Educator of the Year and has also received several national and state coaching awards. He and his wife Carol have 3 sons. Stu, will you please come to the stage?
Thank you, Dr. King. It's a great honor for me to be here tonight as the MC of this great event. We all are here because we hold dear to our heart this wonderful school. A lot of memories for all of us that are here tonight. For me, I was able to meet my wife here. My mother and father went to school here. Enabled me to learn the lessons that I needed in life to accomplish the things that I learned later in life. And I know a lot of us here can tell the same stories. We have a group of great presenters and a great group of inductees tonight. Looking at the lineup, it appears that we have 3 baseball players heading it up, but as usually is the case in life, we've got a lady that's going to back clean up. And looking forward to hearing their stories. Looking forward to down the road when we start getting people in this hall that are our football players and our wrestlers. I see you coaches today. We've got great football program here at Lyon College. You guys that hadn't got out to see it need to come out and watch it. Coach Crehan, I've got to watch what he's done with this program here, and it's fantastic. And our wrestling program is wonderful as well. So if you haven't got a chance to see wrestling or football players, something you need to get out and do because it's fantastic, along with the other programs that we have that have been doing well for a long, long time. So what I want to say is, as we go into tonight, is I've already said we got a great group of presenters and inductees this evening. This is their night. Congratulations. Enjoy your evening. It'll be a memory that you and your family and friends will cherish for the rest of your life. Looking forward to getting on with it here. Now, before we go on, I'd like to say, how about a hand for everyone who provided us with this wonderful meal tonight? It was outstanding. Thank you guys. Wonderful job. Also, before we get going, it's a lot of hard work and research to go into selecting these Hall of Fame members. And each year we have had an outstanding group of inductees, and this can be attributed to our selection committee members. And so at this time, if you would please, I'd like all of the members of the selection committee to please stand and be recognized. We also have several Hall of Fame members that are in attendance tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and announce you guys, and when I do, and ladies, and when I do, please go ahead and stand, and let's try to hold the applause until the last of our inductees has been recognized. We'll start out with Terry Barnhill, Ronnie Brogdon, Julie Church, Doc Freeman, Jim Haney, Jack Haney, Brandy Love Higginbottom, Robbie Holmes, Elliot Jackson, Kevin Jenkins, Kurt Kelly, Albert Lindsay, Elliot Sampley, David Seward, Tracy Stewart Lane, Nate Van Pelt, Gary Weeks, and Fred Wan. Let's give them a nice round of applause. Now we'll proceed with the presentation of the 2019 Hall of Fame honorees. You know, before I introduce our first presenter, I can't help but reflect back, as I'm sure many of you have been able to, on your time up here on the podium when you were inducted into this wonderful Hall of Fame. Mine was a little different in the fact that I was inducted in 2004, and it was on a Friday night. It just happened I was coaching a football game that night as well. Luckily, it was at Batesville High School. It was against the Blyville Chickasaws. So my head coach, Dave King, was good enough to let me come up here and give my speech. They made some special, whatever I want to call it, 'cause they made some special, anyway, we wound up doing some things different that night. Well, one thing, we went ahead and let me do mine before the dinner. And so I wound up giving my acceptance speech, getting pictures made, and I headed back to the ball field. It was the most pressure I ever had because I missed the pregame meetings, and I knew that the head coach was looking at me and wondering if I had my head in the ball game or not. And so I knew we needed to play great defense that night. And luckily we did, and we won the game. So that's how I remember my night being inducted in. So this is going to be great for me because I'm finally going to get to sit through the whole ceremony here tonight, which I didn't at the time. Tonight, I want to introduce our first presenter, and he's an icon at this school. He's meant so much to many of us, including myself. I know that I would not be standing here tonight without this superhuman being. I remember even when I decided I was going to run for the legislature, the first thing that I did is I did a commercial that we did on television, and I put Fred and Linda in my commercial. Very important. They went door to door for me, so they've always meant a lot to me. I think a lot of these people. So what I want to do now is ask Fred Wan to please come to the podium as he's going to present our first inductee tonight. I also want to say that tonight is Fred's birthday.
First of all, Cindy, great job. Appreciate all of your effort. Secondly, to you, appreciate you allowing me to present. I met Aubrey back 50 years ago. Great young man from Blyville, Arkansas. And he played baseball for me for 1 year. You've read the credentials of all his accomplishments in the program, I'm sure. Also, he was an outstanding player. Dwight Williams was his coach at Blyville. A lot of us know Dwight or remember him, don't we, Ronnie? And secondly, they won 3 or 4 state championships in baseball, and he played on many championship teams at Lyon. But let's digress just a minute. I met him in the dormitory. I was responsible for the dorm. and Aubrey was an interior decorator. I had room checks. Probably today they'd never heard of a room check, but I'd go by once or twice every week. And I went in one night or one morning, and he had a great big highway sign in his room saying Highway 69. I couldn't believe it. Secondly, I talked to Aubrey about it. He said, well, everybody wanted that sign, but I got it. And I said, well, you just found it, right? Yes, sir, I just found it. On top of a pole, probably somewhere on a deep, dark, deserted street or highway. Anyway, he took it back in his little bitty car, and he got up there. I thought he was slinging it in the ditch, but he didn't. He went into the highway department and put it down gently and was going to escape. One voice came through the dark night and said, boy, what are you doing here? Aubrey says, well, and notice Aubrey has a knack. He can step into, I won't go any further, but he can come out smelling like a rose. Aubrey says, well, sir, I found, notice the word found, I found this sign, and I'm returning it. And this man looked at Aubrey and said, well, you know, you're the best young man I've seen in a long time. Boy, he jumped in that car and he hit the Bible beyond belief. But he played baseball for me. He did a good job. We had a pretty good team that year. We probably were 500. But he's got many of these people here like Art Kearns. Where is Albert's here? Mike's here. Who are you pointing to? I got Art. I got Mike who I left out. Sam. Who? Sam Mashuga. Where are you, Sam? Okay, there you are. Many good players. And Mike Springer put together a lot of this work to bring a lot of these people here. Thank you, Mike, for being my support and my manager. Thank you for that. But we had a good team, and what I want to really emphasize is the fact that not only 50 years later, I can look down the road, and he lives in Charleston, South Carolina. And he and his wife, Terry, do an excellent job of supporting their fellow man, their friends, their family. They certainly love their family. One good example, his best friend, Patrick Beal, was dying of cancer. And Aubrey and Terry put together a tournament, and they raised $20,000 there at the country club for medical expenses. But beyond that, he promised Patrick he would not stop. And since that time, he's raised $200,000 for cancer research for South Carolina. To me, he is such a good man. He has a knack of making you feel comfortable. Doesn't matter if I see him today or I saw him 50 years ago. He believes in the fact that his fellow man is important. He's given so much. He also works with alcoholics on a one-to-one basis and also in a group. And he has given so much, in case you don't know, to Lyon. Not only his time, but his money. Many of the buildings we have built in the last 5 years has had some of his money. He's in the plumbing business. He doesn't come and empty your drains or anything like that. He sells plumbing equipment. And he has done so much for this school, and I know that I consider him a friend, and consider him an excellent person for the Hall of Fame. Please welcome Elton.
Thorn between two roses. I'm equally honored and humbled to be here tonight. Most of the time you have to die to get the people that I have come to see me tonight to show up. But I've got all 5 of our children here. A lot of them came from a great distance and a lot of trouble. Have 3 of my 4 grandchildren here tonight, and I have my best friends here. And I think that warms me more than than any accolade I could ever get. You know, if I make it to March 3rd, I will have been on this earth 70 years. And you give a little bit more thought to your mortality. And maybe I was giving it a little bit more thought than I should. So I had a dream the other night that I had died. And in this dream, I kind of come to and I look up and there's the pearly gates and there's St. Peter. And I said, man, I can't believe that I'm here. And I said, St. Peter, this is wonderful. He said, well, there's just one thing you got to do. And I said, well, I knew it had to be a catch because I went back. Just what I did at Arkansas College with Gary Weeks is enough to keep me out. So I said, well, what do I need to do? He said, well, do you see that ladder over there? And I looked, and there was a ladder. Man, you couldn't even see the top of it out there. I said, yes, sir. He said, for every sin that you committed in life, you got to put a chalk mark on a rung on that ladder. Well, have you ever tried to climb a ladder with a 50-pound piece of chalk? I'm telling you, man, it was a chalk. And so I start marking, and I pull up, and I start marking. And this went on forever. And finally, I get up. I couldn't even see the ground, and I'm pulling as hard as I could to make that last mark, and something stepped on my hands. And I looked up, and it was Larry Weeks coming down for more chalk. I've got several folks I need to mention this evening, and the first one I have to mention was my presenter, Coach Fred Warren. When Coach came to me and asked me about playing, it was my senior year, and Stephanie, my daughter, was just a year-old child, and I was working for Sonny Rao at Rao Auto Parts in the office in the afternoon, and for Mr. T.W. Cooper over at Big Daddy's Rendezvous, cooking steaks at night and on the weekends. And I also carried 15-hour workload in there. And Coach came out to me and said, wanted me to play for him. And I said, Coach, I don't know how to do it. He said, well, what if I could work it out? So he goes and talks to T.W. Cooper, and he let me arrange my work schedule so I could practice and go games. Mr. Sonny Rao, that just recently passed away, was a fine pillar of this community. He gave me a key to his store where I could go up on Saturdays and Sundays and do, I kept a little Cardex inventory card thing, and he let me do that. So both of those gentlemen, but Coach worked it out where I could do that, and I appreciate that, Coach. It never would have happened without you going the extra mile, and boy, you put up with a lot, but I appreciate it. I could tell you so many stories. I mean, I've heard tales about this going on forever, so I'm not going to be long-winded any more than I have to be, but we've had a lot of fun, haven't we, Coach? I'd like to thank my selfless parents who were sharecroppers back out from Blytheville. My dad farmed mules when I was small. Those two people lived every day of their lives living for other people. They never thought about themselves. They never did for themselves. It was always about us or anybody else that needed help. They didn't ever have any money, but boy, what they did have, they would share it with you, So I appreciate it. I got my dogged determination from my mother. She never quit. She never would quit. I'd like to thank my departed brother Charlie, my older brother. His daughter Nancy is here this evening. Charlie kept a roof over our head, kept us from starving to death. My first bicycle, my first car. He put up his record for a mortgage loan when I started my first business. Charlie, I wouldn't be here without my brother Charlie. I also want to thank my children. You guys kept Terry and I going. We wanted We didn't want you to have the lives that we had, man. It was hard. And you know, being poor is nothing to be ashamed of. Dad, blame it, boy, it got inconvenient a lot of times. and we didn't want you guys to have to go through what we did, and that motivated both of us. You know, my wife was at a marketing company there in Charleston, and was very successful with it in her own life. So, you know, I thank my children for motivating me in that. I also have to, here at the college, I have to thank my old teammate, our third baseman, Arthur Kearns. Arthur's, where you at, Arthur? Right over there. Arthur was in the Navy 13 years before he started to college, and he got out and came to college, and I think Fred's 17 months older than Arthur, I found out today, you know. But Arthur had been out in the world and was wiser. And what Arthur did for me is he helped me quit being such a redneck. Because, you know, you hear this stuff, and you come out of there, and your prejudices, and you're saying things that you've heard all your life without thinking about it. And Arthur would take me to task. And Arthur taught me to think about what I said and what I did. And my friend Arthur Kearns made me a better person. And all you folks have benefited from that, I hope. But Art taught me to do what was right and not just what was popular. So I thank you, Art. Now, I've got another person to thank over here too. But this is one story I got to tell you. I would go home to Hoxie on occasion with Gary Weeks. We would go over there, and the reason Gary and I think, got so close and bonded together was the simple fact that we were the same broke. We couldn't rub two nickels together, and we were broke all the time. So you couldn't do anything, so we did nothing together on it. But Gary had to go back to Hoxie for something, and I went with him. And he had a 65 Mustang red convertible. And so we'd been over there, and we're coming back, and we get over there just right out of Tuckerman, Arkansas, and we come up out of town, and there's a big old long line of cars in front of us. And so we look over there, and Gary had that three speed, 4 on the floor, but that six-cylinder sounded like a Singer sewing machine a lot more than a race car engine. So we get out there, and Gary whips out there, and we're flying down there, and he looks at me and says, "I'm killing them, Bill. I'm killing them, man. We're passing all these cars." And we look up, and a truck had pulled out of a side road right in our lawn. I said, and Gary skillfully whips that car out of the path of that truck and in between those two cars to avoid a wreck. And he had pulled us right in, directly behind the hearse and in front of the family car. Well, I don't know what happened because I got small and low in that thing. But Gary has been such a unique friend for me, in that he's my confidant. He's my wise advisor, and he's the dearest of all friends you could ever have. And he told me one time it was something I was going through that I wasn't particularly proud of. Now, it's kind of unique when somebody knows everything about you, but I'm going to tell you, I don't have no secrets. I get rid of it. I don't tote it around. I give it to Gary. And I was talking to Gary, and I told him, I said, "Gary, I said, I'm a little bit ashamed about this, but, I did so-and-so, so-and-so, and I don't think I should have done that." And he said, "Bill, let me stop you right there." He said, "I don't care what you did. I'm on your side." That's a pretty broad statement. and he meant it, and he means it today. And I don't love nobody better than I love Wicks over there. So, of course, when you get Gary, you also get Larry. That's his big brother, and he feels about Larry like I feel about my brother Charlie. It's just, I'm so blessed to have the family and the friends, and I don't deserve it. My mother called them undeserved blessings, and that's what I've had in life. Now, last but certainly not least, I have to thank my hero. I have to thank my wife Terry. Terry is a NF2 cancer survivor. In the last 24 years, she's had 6 brain tumor procedures. She's had gamma knives. She's had tumors taken out of her spine. She's done all that. And during that course of time, she's also been the ladies' club champion playing golf. She's been the ladies' senior club champion playing golf. She opened a marketing company and ran it successfully. And she was the world's greatest mom. And she stuck by me when she had every reason not to. She had every reason not to stick by me, but she did. And Terry, I can't thank you enough, and I love you. 2. You know, the MVP awards are good. All state honors are good. State championships are good. Conference championships are good. But you know that they last until the next team or the next hot shot player comes along, and it's kind of gone. The thing I'm so honored about here at Lyon College is this award is permanent, forever and always. And to be in there with my friend Gary, you know, that's the path we've been down in life, as he said this afternoon. Bell, think about that little boy that was in Chickasaw Courts in a project in Bible, Arkansas. It's just something about the permanence of it. And I thank the Hall of Fame committee and other members for doing that. Lyon College gave me the tools to use. They helped me in my business life. Remember, J.B. Balch taught accounting, and he was the business department here at Arkansas College, Lyon College. Only full-time instructor was J.B. Balch. And he'd be going through an accounting problem on the board, and all of a sudden he'd stop me. He said, you know, you boys from New Jersey, y'all know how a good coon dog works? And he'd draw a dot on there and said, here's that coon dog. And he starts working small circles around here, and then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger till he finally gets on that trail, and then, he's off after that thing, and those boys didn't know what to think. But the things I did learn here, and the friendships that I made, and the ones that I have today, I owe that to the college. And I probably went over 5 minutes a little bit, but I'm sorry about that. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Cindy Barber for all she does to put this together and to work with us through that stuff in it. And a lot of you guys, if you go to school here, if you haven't met David Hutchinson yet, the development department over here, do yourself a favor and get to know him. He is doing some wonderful things, and he is working very hard to make the school that we love a better place. And thank the good Lord for not killing me and letting me live long enough to know him. So thank you guys for being here.
Once again, congratulations, Mr. Bell. Also, Coach Erickson, my wife pointed out something. I need to make you an apology. She said that it's not wrestling, it's wrestling. You know what they say, you can take the boy out of the country. But you've got a great program here going, and congratulations, guys. I always look at your YouTube videos, back when you were a wrestler. And
You're not that old.
I know. In case guys didn't know, Coach at one time probably is one of the top 2 or 3 heavyweight wrestlers of all time in the history of the United States. And we're very lucky to have him here at Lyon College. Going along now, I'm going to introduce another old friend of mine I hadn't seen in a long time, but he's going to be here to make our next presentation. He spent quite a bit of time here at Lyon College, and that's Mr. Mitch Mathis.
Happy birthday, Coach Juan. Coach Kelly and I'll sing to you once this over with. He's clearing his voice right now. So, in the fall of 1996, I attended the All-American Baseball Showcase in Arlington, Texas, searching for a few good men to continue the growth of our new baseball program that Coach Kelly had started in 1992. I'd been on the job for all of about 1 month, but I was very confident knowing the type of player that Kirk, Robbie, and I were looking for. The showcase started, the infield drills, and they had the third baseman feeding the second baseman, turning double plays. And there's this kid from Hudson High School in Lufkin, Texas, turning double plays just as smooth as I'd ever seen. Then they hit him ground balls, and again, he's as smooth as silk, fielding and throwing. I called Kirk after the infielders worked out on Friday night, and I was all excited. I told him that I'd found our second baseman for the next 4 years. Kirk asked me, can he hit? I said, I'm sure he can. Anyone that plays second base like that should be able to hit. But I didn't know because I hadn't actually seen him hit yet. But I was sold already. Little did I know just how good a player in person I'd found that weekend. I started the recruiting process by mailing some information out to him and then made my first phone call. I can only imagine the phone calls between John and his girlfriends in high school. When I called, there would be some heavy breathing going on, but that's only because John wasn't doing a whole lot of talking, and I was trying to get as much information as I could out of his 1- and 2-word answers. Somehow, though, we connected enough that John committed to us, and the rest is history. In preparing for tonight, I combed the Lyon baseball record books, and I found that John is still in the top 10 in career hits with 179. What the record book does not tell is that John led the nation 2 years running, 1998 and 1999, in number of walks during batting practice. I was a fairly proficient BP thrower, but when John stepped in the cage, home plate shrunk from 17 inches wide to about 1 3/4 inches, and he would not swing unless the entire ball passed inside the area he had picked out. There were many days that I would only throw about 10 balls that were not swung at in a 40-minute hitting period, but when John stepped in, all bets were off. If I remember correctly, I threw at you, behind you, bounced them into you, and even tossed them underhand to you out of sarcasm. But the one thing that taught me about John is it's something he lives by today, is he has standards, and he's not going to waver for anyone. The one thing that will always link John and myself is a fateful day in Cleveland, Tennessee, when John left the love of his life in the dugout. Sorry, Jamie, but I am not referring to you. John's glove, and I'm sure that she had a name, was his pride and joy, and he never let her out of his sight. On this day, a perfect storm arose. I wasn't throwing BP in the cages because it had rained, and John was in the cage hitting and left his glove laying on the bench. When he came around the corner of the dugout and saw me, the chase was on. One split skull for me, and 41 stitches later, I made it back for the second game of the doubleheader. We can just say, dugout roof 1, Coach Mathis 0. God puts people in our lives for many reasons, and I'm so blessed that my life crossed paths with John Harvey. I don't know that I've ever seen this young man without a smile on his face, except maybe that day that I had his glove. When he stepped foot on campus at Lyon, there was never a question to his work ethic and dedication to our program, because every spare minute he had was spent making himself better. We had a saying in the coach's office for those recruits that didn't meet our standards, and that was NAS, not a Scott. If you look up Lyon College baseball player in the dictionary, John Harvey's picture is there. The thing that was more important to us, and to me especially, was and is his character. You'll be hard-pressed to find a finer man and leader of men than John Harvey. As a father, I think the highest praise I could give John is I would have let him date my daughter because he's that good of a man. John was a great ambassador for Lyon College as a student athlete and continues to live as a great example to young people today. The Hall of Fame recognizes him for his athletic ability, but there's so much more to John Harvey than what he did on the baseball field. It's my honor to introduce my friend and the first recruit that I had to Lyon College, the newest member of the Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame, John Harvey.
I still have no idea why he ran from me when he had the ball. Just kind of towers over me a little bit. It is an absolute honor to be here tonight. And when I first got the call, I was very excited. Coach Kelly, I'll talk about him a little bit more in a second. But ever since then, I've been a little nervous about this moment. Mostly because I'm not much of a public speaker, but I want to make proud all the people that have influenced me in my life that got me to this place right here. I'd never heard of Lyon College before '96, and we'll talk about that, visit a little bit again, that's part of my speech. So I was a junior there at Hudson High School in Lufkin, Texas. I was just hoping to get a chance to play baseball in college. I was getting a few letters, mostly from academics, but a few from baseball. Of course, there was no social media at the time, so recruiting was basically home phone or mail. Now, I don't remember the phone calls very much, but it's probably because I wasn't talking very much. But I do remember the letter that I got from Lyon, and I opened it up, and it was a handwritten letter from Coach Mathis. Now, that was huge to me, because that was the only one I got that was handwritten. In my mind, if someone was taking the time to send that handwritten letter, they must have really thought I could make a difference for their team. And at that time, that's exactly what I needed. Now, little did I know at the time that would change my story forever, but I am very appreciative of that. But to back up a little, the big reason that I was ever put in that position was a result of a great high school baseball experience. A lot of us are fortunate enough to have someone early on that really ignites you, that kind of lights your fire. For me, that person was John Adair, my high school coach. He set me down my freshman year and convinced me that college baseball was possible. He explained that it was not going to be easy. It was going to take a lot of work because I was not very athletic. And at a time in life where most kids are doing whatever teenagers do, he convinced me that if I wanted to play in college, I'd have to be different. Everything else was going to have to wait. Fortunately for me, we have cell phones to play on, or we only have one channel at the house. And you can only play Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt so many times. So I was usually practicing baseball a lot. And I'm so grateful to have him in my life and a high school coach that pushed me for those 4 years. The next step on the Lyon journey after that letter was taking a visit, and it was during the spring baseball season, so I couldn't make the trip to Batesville. So the team at the time was playing in Shreveport, or playing LSU Shreveport. And I remember making the trip up. That was the first day I met Coach Kelly, and the first time I ever shake his hand as well. So I remember getting back in the car and my dad going, "Is your hand okay? Because mine may be broken." I actually mentioned that tonight too. But I've always been prepared to shake a hand ever since. I don't remember the score that day, but after talking with Coach Kelly and then watching guys like Patrick Kircher, who's a Hall of Famer as well, Brian Krug, and Ryan Johnson, I was pretty much sold that I wanted to play baseball at Lyon College. I actually had the privilege of playing with Ryan that freshman year, and he took me under his wing as a middle infielder. It meant the world to me. But freshman year was a little bit of a struggle. Grew up a little bit sheltered, so things were a little bit different than I expected. There were a few times I wanted to get in the truck and head back to the house to Texas. Lost my academic scholarship, still paying for that one. But it was relationships with some really good guys and great teammates that kind of got me through. And that the old maintenance shed, that was the batting cage. And you know, I know you guys are kind of spoiled now with that indoor, but it's awesome. The old batting cage is awesome too. They had old mattresses and mice and taped up baseballs and holes in the net. But it made you feel like you were hitting it really hard. But, you know, those years between 18 and 22, especially being 7 hours from home, are crucial years for developing habits and figuring out who you are. So it certainly helped to have a coach like Coach Kelly to hold you accountable. He's been such an important man in my life. The influence that he's had on me those 4 years were huge. I know most guys talk about, you know, the lessons on toughness or the stories you told to teach a lesson about life. And I remember those, and they were very important. But for me, looking back as a coach, it was about the same fire and the same intensity and the same effort that he brought every single day to the ballpark. And he was a family guy as well. And that's been huge for me to look up to as a college coach myself. So I really enjoyed those 4 years with him, but I think it was the last 19 years as a coach and a friend that I've enjoyed most. When I first mentioned to him that I thought I wanted to be a college coach, he asked, "Are you sure? You know, there's no money in it, and your livelihood depends on 18 to 22-year-old boys." That was kind of scary, but I'm glad I made that choice and glad to have him as a mentor. I can't tell you how many times I've asked myself, what would Coach Kelly do in this situation? Usually I have the answer, but if not, he always answers the phone. He always has some sort of advice, and it always seems to be pretty good. So I appreciate that. I love you. Side note, you know, my first collegiate win as a coach came against Coach Kelly, or a Coach Kelly-led Lyon team. Coach Holmes is in the dugout, and I have this dugout chart in my office, so I don't have this good of a memory. But on that dugout chart, in that lineup were Lyon Hall of Famer Sam Cook in the 2-hole, Andy Bettis in the 3, and Stephen Wright leading off. I thought it was pretty cool. And then Coach Tony Repke got a pinch hit at bat and came in the game to pitch that day too. But I appreciate all the experiences here, good and bad. I'm very proud of where I played and proud to have played for some great coaches, played with some great teammates, played with some great guys. I wish I did a better job of staying in touch. There is one guy, you know, a best friend of mine. We played here 4 years. He lives in the Nashville area now, and is an agent for professional baseball players. So he helps us out in our development of guys too. That's David Wright. And of course, I can't end the speech without mentioning that this is where I met my wife of 17 years, Jamie. If I remember right, Coach Mathis kind of suggested we talk early on. I was in, but it took her a while. She did eventually come around. We've been together for 20 years now. She was a pretty good volleyball player here, also 4 years. And yes, she was a better athlete. Coach Kelly used to give me a hard time, saying he wanted to see us race, and his money was on her. I can take her now. Later on, he also said if I was going to be a college coach, you better have a wife that is okay with it. Being a coach's wife is definitely not the easiest thing, but she's a great one. She's also a great mother to our 2 boys, Brooks and Brock. They're 13 and 10, sitting back at the table. And I can honestly say I don't remember really what life is like before them, and I really don't want to. They have changed my perspective on life for the better, and I'm a better person because of them. All right, lastly, I want to thank my family for making the trip up. You know, my brother Shane means a lot to me for you to be here. And he brought his kids as well, Katie and Casper, back there at the same table. And of course, the story didn't happen without my parents and their influence. The love of baseball started with my dad. It was his favorite sport. Of course, I wanted to be like him. You know, Mom, I know I'm a little biased, but she's one of the best people you'll ever meet. And she's a grinder. She's gone from no college degree, working in daycare centers, and now she's the CFO of a credit union back home. I'm extremely proud of her. Thank you for being great parents. Again, I want to say thanks to all the coaches that I played for. Talked about Coach Holmes, Coach Kelly, Coach Sampley, and all the players I've coached over the last 19 years. I hope in some small way I can pass along some of that influence to those guys and all of my former teammates. Go Scots. Thank you.
This next presenter is a longtime friend of mine and one of the best men that I've ever known. When they started the baseball program here at Lyon College, Coach Kelly came in, and I was the head baseball coach at Batesville High School. We practiced right next to each other at the North Complex. So I spent a lot of time after practice talking, getting to know him. And matter of fact, we probably traveled around the country together. Went to camps, clinics. I did camps with Coach. Went to clinics. I see Robbie. Robbie, I'm going to have to tell this story because I'm going to tell you, Robbie is as devoted a baseball coach as you'll ever want to know. And wherever Coach went, he went with Coach because Coach is the kind of guy that just draws people to him. I mean, you'll give up everything for Coach. And because he's not going to let you down for one thing. But I can remember we were going to Atlanta to a baseball clinic, and it came an ice storm. I didn't think we were going to go. Of course, you guys that know Coach Kelly, if he wasn't a baseball coach, he probably would have been a NASCAR driver because he loves to drive. He'll get in that car and just go to town. So I go to his house. That time, Coach was living over on College Street. And we're sort of waiting for Coach Holmes to show up. Go out back, and I hope you don't mind telling this, but at that time, Robbie had come to help Coach. Robbie was living in a camper shell in Coach Kelly's backyard. Now, I mean a camper shell that would fit in the back of a pickup truck. And there was an extension cord that ran into Coach Kelly's house. That's how he got his electricity. Well, that morning, Robbie couldn't get out of that camper shell because he was froze in. So we had to go thaw him out to get him out so we could begin our trip to Atlanta. But we made it there and had a great, great time. As I said, I spent countless hours with this guy discussing athletics and just life in general. And he's touched so many people, and it continues to do so today. So it's my pleasure to have Coach Kurt Kelly please come to the podium.
It is an honor to introduce Stephen Wright. Before I do that, John, I'm proud of you, and John is one of the best college baseball coaches in America right now. And he's a very humble guy, but very, very special. But Mitch, you did leave off one story that John did love his glove. He did. And came out to practice one day, and John couldn't find his glove. It was on top of the flagpole, compliments of his teammates. John didn't like it. But Stephen, the thing about Stephen Wright, the first thing, every time I look at him, it makes me smile. He's a great person. He was a great player, and I can't look at him without smiling. That's what I think of him. But what he brought to our program is he played the game like an 8-year-old. If you ever watch an 8-year-old play baseball, it's fun to watch. And he flew around. He was thankful of every day he played, and it was contagious with his teammates. And everybody on our team played like 8-year-olds because of you. Now, I can also tell you, even though you're 8 years old, you're mature beyond your years because we as coaches, we always throw around compliments and superlatives, and whether we mean them or not, we throw them around anyway. But I'm going to tell you, Stephen Wright is the hardest working man I've ever coached in 30 years. And I think everybody that was around him can say the same thing. Proud of you, Stephen. I love you. After you graduated, you played professional baseball for 7 years. Now he works in counterterrorism, and I guarantee you that's who we want protecting us. I promise you. And Stephen, it's an absolute honor. I love you. I'm proud of you. Welcome to the Hall of Fame.
Easy on me, the handshake is fine. This guy. All right, this place is very, very special to me. It means the world to me, just like Coach was just saying, when he got the phone call, you know exactly what you were doing. When I got the phone call, I was sitting there with my family. I said, hey, I told my dad, I said, I'm going to the Hall of Fame at Lyon. gave me a big hug, and my mom, she started crying. So, just real quick, I want to take this time to thank everyone. Thank you to the Alumni Association Board of Trustees, Administration, Athletic Department for voting me into the Hall of Fame. I'm truly humbled, honored to be here. You guys have no idea. This is truly paramount for me. I'm going to cherish this day forever. Thank you to my guests. I'm going to thank each one of you who are in attendance tonight, celebrating this wonderful occasion with me. Allie Marks, Alyssa Papineau, Mike from Fayetteville, Arkansas, Sean Coker from Cabot. Thank you for coming, brother. Robert and Maria Webster from Vancouver, British Columbia, newlyweds, just in their wedding. Congratulations. Coach Tony Rebke, right here in baseball, we're going to get to you second. Coach Holmes, love you too, brother. And obviously Coach Kelly from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you for presenting and introducing me tonight, Coach. We'll get to you probably a little bit later on. My sister, Kara Wright, Kara Courtney now, from Redondo Beach, California. And my mother, Catherine Wright. Both came in from Redondo Beach, California. Now, my father couldn't make it. He's been battling some health issues, but my father is the one who put a baseball and a bat in my hand at 4 or 5 years old, along with the football, along with basketball, and all the other sports that I played growing up. So he gives his love to you, Coach, as well. And quick little story, when Coach was recruiting me, my dad obviously came with me and my mom. We met Coach Kelly for the first time. They did. I'd already met him. And Coach Kelly gave my dad a handshake. And my dad's a very large physical man. And obviously, you guys know Coach Kelly is a very large physical man. So my dad, after we were driving back, my dad said, "What do you think about the trip?" I said, "I really like the coaches, like Coach Holmes, Coach Kelly. They looked me in the eye. They told me the truth, and I think I could really see myself going to Lyon." And my dad was like, "Yeah, I like the way he looks." I like the way he looks. Some of these other coaches, they don't really look the part. I like the way he looks. He shakes your hand, looks you in the eye, he lets you know that he means it. So, just real quick, I know you're up here with me, brother. What's that, sir?
Improvise, adapt, overcome.
All right. So, improvise, adapt, overcome. Adapt, improvise, overcome, however you want to word it, phrase it. This is a tactical patch that I've carried with me on every dynamic situation I've been involved with over the last 4 or 5 years. And you just have to remember your training. Basically, that's what I learned from that. Whether you're playing in some third world country, Mexico, and you're one of the only 2 guys that's from America speaking English, and you're not really playing too well, and maybe you're trying to remember back to different things to get you through tough times, and you just have to remember your training. So that's what I get from that saying. If you guys go to the baseball complex, the Kurt Kelly baseball complex, over the top edge in silver, improvise, adapt, overcome. So as I entered Lyon, these words would be echoed daily on every run, every hitting session, every weight room workout, every study hall. In other words, perseverance, mindset, honor, courage, commitment, and our favorite word, passion. You guys remember that, all right? So passion was something that we practiced daily. Coach told us to go all into the building, said don't come back out here until you have a word that means something to you. So we all went back in. We're sitting, I was Coker and Rob were sitting right next to me. They're here obviously tonight. They're like, so what are we going to say? I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm going to say. Maybe grit, fight, determined, I don't know. And so we go out and I'm like, hey, Coach, like, what do you got, Steve? I'm like, hey, grit. He's like, no, it's not the right word. So we finally came to passion, and that's what it's all about, because if you don't enjoy, truly have a passion for what it is that you do, you're not going to put everything you have into it. Now, I put everything I had into baseball. I think, Coach, you used to always, say to me, I don't have to worry about you. You're gonna be fine. You always come in, I'd work hard, I'd trained like my life depended on it, even though it really didn't. Now I train like my life depends on it because it does. But, you know, he told me, hey, you know what, I want you to start bringing others with you when you come and train. I want you to start grabbing the younger freshmen. This is a note to you guys in the room that are here on the baseball team. I want you to start grabbing guys, bringing them with you when you train, bringing them with you when you run, doing the things as a team. And so what I'm trying to say is, when I got to Lyon, this is where Coach Kelly, Coach Holmes, Coach Tony Repke, who was our teammate, wound up being a player coach shortly thereafter. This is where I learned how to truly be a leader, and where I went from a young man just training and trying to prepare myself to get through college into a man who is preparing to get through life. So with that being said, that's what I really took from you, Coach. And I told you after the last game that I played for you and as a Scot, I told you, I said, I was getting choked up because I'd never really seen you get that emotional before, and you were getting ready to start, you know, I knew it was coming, so I just listened to what you said. You said, Stephen, you know, I love you, and anything you ever need. I said, all right, listen, Coach. I had one sentence I could get out before I started crying like a little baby. I had to hurry up and say it. I was like, hey, you know, I love you like a family member, and you gave me a chance. And then I just lost it. But that was what I took from my time here. You just told us exactly what it was that we needed to work on to get better as baseball players, as men, as student athletes, whatever it was. Coach alluded to it in his speech prior to mine. You know, you always answer the phone. I've called you or texted you, I don't know how many times over the years. I would have been in different countries, different time zones, I don't even know where, and you respond back. I'm like, this guy's, I don't know if he's got like an assistant that's got his phone or what, but he is just always on it. And I truly love you for that, Coach. You've truly shaped a lot of the things that I've done after leaving here, whether it was playing ball or whether it was what I'm into now. That was what I took from this. So I appreciate you and I love you very much. So they wanted me to, they didn't want me to let you slide too easy. A lot of the guys were like, don't let him go too easy without telling us a couple things about him that we were going to appreciate. But, you know, when we first got here, we had this thing called Breakfast Club, and we'd get up at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'd go work out as a team. And we would have to, and we would have to, you know, you get there about 4:30 in the morning, and you're lined up, and you're waiting to go in the weight room. And Coach Kelly would always just, he's already there. He already got like a lather, like he's been working out since like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And, you know, a lot of us like to think that we're in shape and we like to train and work out, but I mean, this guy, so we show up and I mean, we were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna get on the bench and do this and that. And we get on the bench and you know, a couple of us throw up a little bit of weight that we thought was really doing something. Here comes Coach, you know, puts on 3 plates plus a 25 and sits down and he tells Rob, like, hey Rob, you wanna go ahead and spot me? And Rob gets behind him. He's like, I don't think I've ever seen this much weight on a bar before, but I'll do what I can. And Coach just starts repping out like 15, 20. So I immediately remember I'm not going to bench after you. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and go and call my dad and tell him what I just saw. And I told my old man, and he was like, I knew you'd be in good hands. So, no, that's what I got for you guys. Just a little note to the guys that are in the audience that are playing here. You got a great coach, all right? Tony Repke came in. We were juniors when we got here. He came in. He was a player. He outworked people that he shouldn't have been outworking, to be quite frank, okay? So when we had heard that the transition had came and Coach Kelly was leaving and Coach Repke was going to be the new guy, all of us, I mean, we're in a group text that goes back like 5-6 years. You guys will probably get your group together and have hopefully guys that you guys love and trust from here until who knows when. You guys stay in contact with that on the team. But we were like, okay, you know, Repke's got it. Okay, we're in good hands. So Reppy, that's just a note to you. Keep doing what you're doing. We're all paying attention like we always have. Some of us knew that you were going to get the gig before you even did. And, you know, we just know that we're going in the right direction, and we know that, you know, you'll always do what's right by everybody in the program and by everyone who's looking after it. So just thanks for being who you are, and thanks for coming tonight. I appreciate you. We learned a lot from you, and continue to. So we love you, brother. And just to leave you guys on this, I'm never going to forget the times that I had here at Lyon. I'm always going to remember whatever it was I was going through, whether it was great times, hard times. I always just wanted to try to dominate my space that I was in. I wanted to try to make my opponents always remember who I was, so that as a junior, they would be afraid to face me when I was a senior. And then when I was a senior, all I wanted to do was play pro ball, so I wanted everyone to remember who I was, so I'd have a shot. That was who I was, and that's kind of who I am today. I train and I work just so that I can, number one, make sure I go home at night, and make sure that the people that are around me can take what I do on a day-to-day basis and learn something from it. So just take that from me. If you don't take anything else, just love each other, work hard, always persevere, adapt, improvise, and overcome. All right? Love you guys, and thank you very much.
Best college and baseball coaches in the country. Ladies, it's your turn finally. I'd like for Miss Brandy Higginbotham to please come to the podium to present our next inductee.
Well, I usually address 4th and 5th grade PE students, so you guys sit a lot more still than they do, but they're usually a little bit happier to see me than you guys are here at the end of this. I played here at Lyon in the early 90s and graduated in 1994, and I'm introducing Marybeth Waters Richards, but I never met her until 5 or 6 years ago. So I'm kind of an odd presenter with somebody that graduated from here in 2009. We didn't know each other at all, and I don't have any college stories to tell like you guys in the baseball and all that, because I could have cared less when she was playing, and she could have cared less when I was playing. So, but we had some really interesting connections to go along rather than the actual playing days. But we grew up in kind of a similar situation. Our dads were both administrators, both superintendents, and for you guys that have any parents that are, if you're in that situation, you understand what we're talking about. We had a spotlight on us most of the time. Both of us were in situations where we were involved in state championship teams. She was a state champion player in high school. I was fortunate enough a few years back to be a high school coach of a championship team. So we have a lot of qualities that are the same. But there was a time back when I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007, and I don't know, Coach Lang, do you still make your players come to these? Yeah, there's probably a group of them somewhere back here with their heads down somewhere. Is that right here? Okay, yeah. So when I'm giving my speech and doing all the same things these guys are, really thanking people and everything, there's that group sitting over there thinking, man, I wish you'd shut up. This lady would get off the stage and move on. I'm sure she was a great basketball player and all that, but move along, you know. And I look over, and my husband is wrestling a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and he grabs both of them by each, grabs them up and heads out of here. And as I'm trying to talk, and I look over there, and that's kind of the same thing. Gary's over there doing that, and Marybeth and I realized that we were in the same room that night, and we had no idea. We had no idea, because she didn't know she would be turning around and being in those same shoes. So you guys that are here that are present, it might be you, so pay attention so you'll know what to do when it comes time. But we also had a little interesting connection down the road, and that's how kind of I came about being her presenter tonight. I was the high school coach at Lake Hamilton for about 10 years, and because I had a 4 and 2-year-old and they were getting older, I was spending more time with the high school kids than I was my own children, and I wanted to make sure that I got to spend some time with them as they were growing up, and they're currently 16, bless me, and already had a wreck 16 days into 16 years old. So 16-year-old and a 13-year-old, and so I got out and I dropped down to a 7th grade position, and we all just kind of rotated spots. We had a junior high coach that moved up and took my spot, which opened up a junior high job at Lake Hamilton. And Marybeth was pretty fresh out of college, a couple of years, and had done a couple of good coaching jobs around the state, and just happened to be in the Hot Springs area, and we'd kind of heard about her, and our staff decided she would be the one we would hire for that junior high job. And little did I know that's how we got connected, and turned around the last 3 years. She has been my daughter's coach, and I wouldn't want anybody else coaching her, because she coaches her with the fire and the intensity that I would certainly hope for, and they have developed a very, very, very unique connection with one another, and my daughter, I'm sure, would play for her right now if she could. But, you know, I know that again, I said it's odd that I'm presenting and never saw her play, but I know that if she played anything with the intensity that she coaches with on the sideline, that she was a heck of a player when she was here at Lyon, and I imagine a lot of her teammates can attest to that. But I just want to introduce her as my colleague. She really, I guess now technically is my boss. I don't know if they make you evaluate me or not. Technically is my boss, and I did want to point out one thing. I was kind of glad they put this thing out, because I read a little bit about you when we were in there, and she's still one spot behind me on scoring by 30 points. So I'm going to stay ahead of her forever on that. But most of all, just my good friend. I just want to introduce Marybeth Waters Richards to the Hall of Fame.
All right. Yes, I teach oral communications, but I hate public speaking too, by the way. So, Brandy, thank you so much for that. And like she just mentioned, I do remember sitting in those seats at the old Edwards, and I just thought, man, I hope this woman keeps it short so we can go home. So, guys, I know what you're thinking. I'm promising I'm going to keep it short tonight. I didn't know that in just a few short years, she would become one of my closest friends, and definitely one of my coaching mentors, and I would have the privilege of coaching her daughter. So thank you so much, Brandy. It's an honor for me to have the opportunity to stand before you tonight as an inductee of the 2019 Lyon College Athletic Hall of Fame class. I'm truly humbled and honored to be in this year's class. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee for its decision to induct me. This is such an incredible honor and accomplishment that I'll always cherish with great pride. As a child, I moved around a lot, and a lot's definitely an understatement. I attended 7 different schools from kindergarten to senior year. This amount of moving allowed me the privilege to play for several different coaches. My junior and my senior year being the most memorable. My junior year of high school, I played for Sherry White at Harrison High School, and there we won a state championship. And my senior year, I played for my dad, Rick Waters, at Westside Bruce Ferry, but we lost in the semifinals and we didn't even make it to the state tournament. Those 2 years were some of the most defining moments for me as a player before I began my college experience. I learned more during my senior year of high school playing for my dad than I did in any of my other years of playing, and some of those lessons included resilience, discipline, and mental toughness. However, the main thing that I remember from you, Dad, is that winning doesn't define success. And for that and hundreds of other things, thank you. Mom, you supported me. You taxied me around to my games and my practices, and you even let me play the piano. So thank you for that. Even though now I wish you would have definitely let me keep going, because my knees aren't the same. So thank you for that, Mom. And but most of all, thank you for your constant, unwavering support in whatever I chose to do. And Coach Lane, Her first year at Lyon College was my first year at Lyon College. This was the first place that I carried that lesson from my dad of winning does not define success. During my time playing, we played in the Trans-South, and the Trans-South was loaded. We typically were in the middle of the pack, but the teams above us were always nationally ranked. And I didn't just like to win, I loved it. And I knew that winning didn't define success, but I still really, really wanted to win. And not always winning was really hard for me. During this time with Coach Lane, I learned a couple of different things. The first was to be grateful. Being a collegiate athlete is a privilege. Sometimes we take all the opportunities, and we don't realize how lucky we are to be student athletes. Although being a student athlete is hard, you'll learn so much and be given opportunities other students aren't going to receive. And be grateful for it. Another thing I learned was success isn't measured by what you gain, but instead what you leave behind. Lyon College women's basketball has continued to make great strides. I think they've made it to the national tournament like 8 times in a row now, and we didn't get that chance here, and I'm so happy that they're able to do that now. And it was a major goal for our team each year, and it's awesome to see the program continue to grow and do awesome things every year. Thank you, Coach Lane. I'm so grateful for the opportunities that you helped provide me. When you first get to college, most students don't really have a sense of belonging. Being a part of a team gives you immediate built-in friends. I can remember the first day of freshman year being dropped off by my parents, and when they left, it was tough. I mean, I was an adult, and I'm using that term really loosely. And rather than sitting in my dorm alone, my team was there, and we hung out, we got to know each other, and just being together on day one made the transition from home to college a lot easier. You form lifelong friendships through the early morning practices, long bus rides, big wins, and hard losses. And when you leave Lyon, you may not talk with your teammates as frequently as you like, but those team bonds are forged forever. Even have a teammate in attendance tonight, KK. And I'm endlessly thankful for my teammates. Thank you guys so much. I met my best friend and now my husband while attending Lyon. Gary was always supportive and encouraging while I was playing basketball. He was playing baseball. And we were experiencing some of the same highs and lows of being collegiate athletes together. He was a great listener, an encourager during our college years. Now he's super dad during season, picking up the slack where I fall short. And tonight, chasing them everywhere. Being a coach's spouse can't be easy, but he makes it look pretty easy. Thank you, Gary. Lyon College. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to receive a high-level education while I played the game that I love. This school helped prepare me for my roles as a wife, mother, educator, and coach of a new generation of young women that I hope someday have the same opportunities that Lyon College provided to me. To the athletes that are here tonight, you are learning so much right now, and you probably don't even know it. College basketball taught me so much more than how to become a better basketball player. You realize that time is precious and not to be wasted. You perfect your time management skills. You master the art of bus riding. Have you guys realized yet that there are endless things to do on a bus? Car games, snacking, karaoke, sleeping, riding, reading. I can remember one time that I had the writing and reading part because I knew I was going to get car sick. And there was a final draft of the research paper due for Dr. Tevitt's class. And I knew I was going to get car sick, but it was go time, and I had to finish that thing. And I did it on a bus, and I got really car sick doing it, but I did it. And you realize that when you put your mind to something, you can do it. This includes the days with 5 a.m. weights and conditioning, followed by class all day, then heading to actual practice, then you sprint to the dining hall to grab a bite before it closes, then you have to go to the library for team study hall, and wrap it all up and get back to your dorm about 10:30 or 11 o'clock at night. You begin noticing that you don't make many excuses anymore because making excuses doesn't get you anywhere quickly. You also begin to understand that life is a non-stop, constantly changing mental, physical, and emotional grind. To be successful, it requires relentless self-discipline and a vigorous work ethic. Thankfully, playing a sport in college taught me all of that. So when I sat down to think about all of the things I wanted to say tonight, all I could think of was to be thankful for the people who have molded me into the person that I am today. So thank you to each of you once again. That's all I've got.
Congratulations again tonight to all our inductees. Great job by the presenters. What a fantastic evening. I want to ask all the honorees and the presenters to join Dr. King on the stage for photos, please. And also, I'd like to ask all of you to remember the 2020 Scott Spectacular that's going to be held on July 25th of next year. Please make plans to attend this outstanding event. And also, December the 6th in Little Rock, don't forget the reception that's going to honor Mr. Terrell Tebbets for all he's done for this college. I'm going to be there. And where's it going to be, Terrell? Is it going to be at the old, is it going to be at the old State House? Okay, on the 6th. So make plans to be there as well. Again, thank you for coming tonight. Have a safe trip home and have a very happy Thanksgiving.